Should you wait for the iPad 11th generation? Hello, Apple fans. It's been a year since Apple introduced the iPad 10th generation, which is one of the finest tablets available in the market. In 2023, we were hoping for the launch of the next generation iPad, the iPad 11th generation, yet Apple's usual launch window passed without any unveiling. So, what does this mean for potential buyers? Here's an in-depth look at the possible release, features, and expectations for the iPad 11th Gen in 2024. This will help you decide whether you should wait for the iPad 11th generation or buy the current generation available in the market. When does the iPad 11th Gen launch? The absence of any iPad releases this year, be it the Mini, the Pro, or the base model, is quite unusual. It's possible that Apple is facing challenges in updating devices that are currently functioning well. Despite the overall market being sluggish, iPads have maintained good sales. However, there might be a limit to the market's absorption capacity. Expectations are building for a potential refresh in the initial half of 2024. Recent rumors in an October newsletter, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman reported a March launch for new iPads, suggesting it's the most likely arrival date at present. Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo echoes Gurman's prediction, believing that all four iPad lines, Standard, Mini, Air, and Pro, will receive updates in 2024. Kuo also anticipates the phase-out of the 9th Gen iPad, still on sale, by the end of 2024. Notably, the 9th Gen iPad is the only model retaining a Lightning port. What will be the price? In 2022, Apple introduced the iPad 10th generation with a slightly increased price while retaining the iPad 9th generation as the most budget-friendly option. As the iPad 11th generation approaches, it's anticipated that the 9th Gen model will be phased out. Predictably, the iPad 11th generation is likely to maintain a starting price of $449, akin to its predecessor. However, there's speculation whether Apple will continue offering the iPad 10th generation at a reduced rate, potentially around $349 after the launch of the newer model. Anticipated features of the iPad 11th generation. The iPad 11th Gen isn't anticipated to bring about a revolutionary technological advancement. Reports hint at Apple's plans to revamp its entire iPad lineup in 2024, suggesting that the forthcoming iteration will likely present an evolutionary update. Processor. The most conspicuous upgrade would likely be in the chipset department. The current iPad 10 operates on an A14 chipset, also featured in the iPhone 12 range and iPad Air 4th generation. With the latest iPhone 15 series employing the A16 chipset, it suggests a probable enhancement for the new iPad 11. Display. Given the prior increase in display size from 10.2 inches to 10.9 inches with the iPad 10 refresh, major alterations in this aspect are improbable. While a shift to support the Apple Pencil 2nd Gen might have been expected, the recent compatibility of the Apple Pencil USB-C with the iPad 10 implies it may remain the stylus option. Cameras. The cameras on the iPad 10th generation perform reasonably well for a device in its class. Improved positioning in landscape mode enhances video calls, particularly with center stage support that keeps the user centered on the screen during movement. Apple might consider adding Face ID, as presently, Touch ID via the power button is the lone biometric option available. Storage. A substantial upgrade that could greatly benefit users is in storage. Despite Apple marketing the iPad as a laptop substitute, the base model's 64 gigabytes of storage, reduced further by iPad OS and built-in apps, remains restrictive. An increase to 128 gigabytes for the entry-level iPad is anticipated when the iPad 11 is released. So the big question, should I wait for the iPad 11th Gen? Considering the imminent launch, it might be worth waiting a week or two to observe the developments. Waiting for the iPad 11th Gen is advisable if you're seeking a base-level iPad with a design refresh. Even if the iPad 11th Gen doesn't boast remarkable improvements, the prices for the 10th Gen model are likely to drop. However, if you're in search of premium features, such as a high refresh rate or require more storage space on an iPad, waiting for the iPad 11th Gen might not be the best option. The cost of the base-level iPad escalates notably with a 256 gigabyte storage upgrade, prompting consideration of alternatives like the iPad Air or even the iPad Pro 11.